Like, Wilt Chamberlain was transcendent. Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in a game. Only one guy's gotten to 80 since, and you have now 3-pointers. Like, Wilt wasn't even a good free throw shooter. So if you fouled him and he dunked, he mostly couldn't hit the free throw. So Wilt got to 100. Steph Curry now gets to 50. People go nuts. Kobe once got to 80. Like, that's a guy. Wilt Chamberlain plays today. He's a star. Roger Bannister ran a 4-minute mile. That's 60 years ago. The best high school runner in the country this year, 4:01. That's pretty remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty remarkable. They've only shaved like 16, 17 seconds off Roger Bannister 16 years ago in a long-distance run. That's transcendent. Not a lot of athletes are transcendent. Rocky Marciano was a heavyweight fighter. Rocky Marciano was 49-0. Rocky Marciano was a heavyweight who weighed 188 pounds. I'm not sure Rocky Marciano would win a fight at the steakhouse if it broke out I was at last night. He wouldn't know. He's 188 pounds. There was a center named Bob Pettit. Bob Pettit dominated in the 50s. He was like a 26-16 guy. 26.16 rebounds. Bob Pettit was great in the 50s, maybe even early 60s. Bob Pettit was 6'9", 209. If you went and watched the best high school basketball team in Houston today, their center's bigger than that. So some guys can dominate in their era. They're not transcendent. Wilt was an all-timer. LeBron James is an all-timer. Roger Bannister, if he had the nutrition and training, I mean, even the best high schooler today can't beat Roger Bannister. If they do, it's by a second. That's all-time stuff. So Dana White's talking about Ronda Rousey. And I've always had this feeling about Ronda Rousey. And let's let Dana talk about Ronda, who he says it's pretty much over.
Her spirits are good. She's doing her thing. You know, in the conversation that I had with her, if I had to say right here, right now, and again, I don't like saying right here, because, sure, you know, it's up to her and her thing, but I wouldn't say she fights again. I think she's probably done.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
I think she's going to ride off into the sunset and start living her life outside of fighting.
My theory on Ronda Rousey is we'll look back in 50 years and be like, she dominated the sport for a couple years? Because UFC is in its infancy. That's why, like, every new champion beats the former champion badly. Mm-hmm. Is that the women's division is so new and so young that there's a champion, and literally a month later, they get pummeled by the next champion or the next challenger. When you have a sport that is young in its infancy, I mean, Ronda Rousey deserves a ton of credit for really developing the women's division. And she may end up being the most important person, female, in the history of the sport. But in terms of quality of fighter, I think we'll look back even now, a couple of years, and go, this isn't going to, on tape 35 years from now, it's not going to stack up. I think you'd be surprised how few athletes are transformative. Like, for instance, I work with Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw, quarterback like 30 years ago. If Terry Bradshaw came out today, as big as he was at Louisiana Tech, he was a number 1 draft pick from Louisiana Tech. Terry could flat spin it. Terry had an absolute gun. And in any era, that's a gun. I mean, I watched Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw's arm in any era was a gun. That's transcendent. LeBron James 100 years from now, you're going to be like, he's 6'9", 250, no body fat, could play point guard and center. You're going to go, damn. But if you watch Dave Cowens for the Celtics, who was a 6'8" center, that worked then. That's not working now. So even among really good players, it's very rare they can transfer that talent 20, 30, 40 years later. It's very rare. Reggie White in the NFL, 100 years from now on tape, you'd be like, oh, yeah, we draft him first.
Brought to you by 84 Lumber. Are you 84 material?